Monte Carlo, 1891. This isn't the concrete jungle of modern Monaco with the supercars parked out front and the supermodels who wait for their sugar daddies. This is the Belle Époque. It is a world of gaslight, heavy velvet curtains, and silence. Inside the Casino de Monte Carlo, the air is thick with cigar smoke and the smell of desperation. This is the most exclusive, most ruthless gambling den on earth. Kings, Russian Grand Dukes, and American railroad tycoons come here to lose their fortunes. The rule is absolute. The house always wins. The casino was built on the failures and bankruptcies of people who thought they could beat the math. But in the summer of 1891, a man walked in who didn't look like a prince or a tycoon. He was short, chubby, balding, and had a thick Cockney accent. His name was Charles Wells. He wasn't an aristocrat. He was an engineer from London. He sat down at the roulette table with £4,000, money he claimed came from his inventions. Over the next 11 hours, he did something that was statistically impossible. He didn't just win, he humiliated the casino. I used modern AI tools to reconstruct the opulent, high-stakes world of 1891 Monte Carlo. The green baize tables, the ticking of the roulette wheel, and the sheer panic in the eyes of the croupiers. So we can follow the path of the man who became a legend. We are going to sit at the table with Charles Wells and watch him turn the laws of probability upside down. To understand what Wells did, you have to understand the ceremony of breaking the bank. People think this means he bankrupted the whole casino. It's actually more specific and more dramatic. Every table in Monte Carlo started the day with a reserve of 100,000 francs. If a player won so much money that the table ran out of cash, they had to stop the game. The croupier would cover the table in a black shroud, a funeral cloth for the bank. It was a moment of supreme shame for the house and ultimate glory for the player. Most gamblers played their whole lives and never saw it happen once. Charles Wells broke the bank 12 times in 3 days. He sat there, utterly calm, betting on the number 5, then on red, then on odd. He played with a manic aggression that terrified the dealers. He was using a strategy called the martingale, doubling his bet every time he lost. It's a suicide strategy. Eventually, you hit the table limit or run out of money. But Wells didn't run out. He couldn't lose. He won 23 times in a row out of 30 spins. The croupiers were sweating. They were sending runners to the vault to get more bags of gold. And Wells just sat there, stacking it up, his face blank. By the end of the week, he had turned his £4,000 into £40,000. In today's money, that is roughly £4 million. He walked out of the casino carrying so much cash, he physically couldn't carry it alone. He had to hire porters to haul the bags back to his hotel. The world went insane. They wrote a song about him. The man who broke the bank at Monte Carlo, which became the biggest hit in England. Everyone wanted to know his secret. Was he cheating? Did he have a magnetic device? Wells told the press, "It's just an infallible system I've worked out." People started flocking to Monte Carlo just to sit near him, trying to copy his bets. He was the most famous man in Europe. But here is where the story turns from a fairy tale into a noir thriller. Charles Wells wasn't a lucky engineer. He was a con man. That £4,000 he started with it wasn't his. Back in London, Wells was running a Ponzi scheme. He had convinced investors that he had invented a musical skipping rope, a jump rope that played a tune when you used it. It was ridiculous, but he was charismatic. He took their money, thousands of pounds from widows and retired military officers, and instead of building a factory, he took it to the roulette wheel. He was gambling with stolen lives. He returned to Monte Carlo in November, just a few months later. The casino directors were terrified. They thought he had cracked the code. He arrived on a luxury yacht, the Palais Royal, which he had bought with his winnings. He walked back into the casino, and he did it again. He won another £60,000. He was unstoppable. He was beating the math of the universe. But the thing about the martingale system, and the thing about luck, is that gravity always kicks in. In January 1892, he went back for a third time, and the wheel turned against him. He lost, and he doubled his bet, and he lost again. The infallible system collapsed. In a matter of weeks, he lost everything. The yacht, the millions, the stolen money, all of it fed back into the mouth of the casino. He tried to borrow money from the very people who idolized him, but the charm was gone. He was just a desperate, sweating man at a table, watching the ball land on the wrong color over and over again. He fled to Le Havre, trying to hide on his yacht, but the law caught up with him. He was arrested not for gambling, but for the fraud back in London. The musical skipping rope investors wanted their money back. He was extradited to England and thrown into Portland prison. The fall was absolute. The man who had lit cigars with banknotes and had princes watching his every move was now wearing a grey uniform in a damp cell, breaking rocks. He served his time, got out, tried another scam, got caught again, and died in Paris in 1922. And this is the haunting part. When he died, nobody knew who he was. The man who had millions flowed through his fingers was buried in a pauper's grave because he couldn't afford a headstone. But when you strip away the glamour of the casino and the catchy song, Charles Wells is a tragedy of wasted brilliance. This was a man who actually was a talented engineer. Before the scams, he had legitimate patents. He understood mechanics and mathematics better than almost anyone of his generation. If he had applied that obsessive, calculating mind to industry, to building bridges or engines or actual infrastructure, he could have been a tycoon. He could have been the British Edison. Instead, he was addicted to the shortcut. He wanted the adrenaline of the spin more than the satisfaction of the build. He took an intellect that could have changed the world and poured it into a wooden wheel in a smoky room, chasing a statistical impossibility. Ultimately, Charles Wells proves that you can break the bank, but you can't break the house. The casino is still there, glittering in the sun. The song is still famous. You can probably hum the chorus right now. But Charles Wells, he's just dust in an unmarked grave, a reminder that genius without a moral compass is just a faster way to destroy yourself. He proved that you can win a fortune in a day, but you can't win a life. That has to be built brick by brick, not spun on a wheel. Thank you for watching. If you want to learn more about history, get the Paladin app today and take your knowledge to the next level.